In a world shaken from war, one country rises revolution and wins its freedom from the British. India, the Almighty.
India, from a colony to a country in just a matter of years.
Our country has been plagued with hardship, but we are resilient.
India, 1526. Babar, founder of the Mughal Empire, had just invaded India. Under his rule, India flourished. India continued to improve during Akbar the Great's rule, but after his death, India started to decline. India, 1658. During Aurangzeb's rule, India came under pressure from the Hindu Marathans to make matters worse. Aurangzeb lacked religious tolerance, and after his death, India began to break apart, and India was about to meet a foe who would dominate them for the next 2 centuries: the British.
1858. For the last century, the East India Trade Company, bolstered by the Industrial Revolution, dominated trade with India for the valuable spices that India possessed. But this was all about to change when the East India Trade Company was dissolved and control of India went to the crown, and in 1876 Queen Victoria was announced Empress of India. In the later half of the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution closely intertwined the economies of Britain and India. After declaring herself Empress of India, Queen Victoria quickly started to modernize Indian buildings, roads, bridges, and canals, which all made trading back and forth between India and Britain easier. Despite all the improvements that came from modernizing, however, 90% of the people who held superior positions in India were British.
1914. When World War I started, India fought with Britain in hopes of gaining independence. But after the war, Britain used India's loyalty as a way to show British dominance. However, in 1921, one man would change the course of the fight for independence: Mahatma Gandhi.
Who is Gandhi and what does he mean to India?
Mahatma Gandhi is a true inspiration for our people. He brought nationalism and pride to our country, and we continue our pride and same sense of freedom from barriers.
What do you believe is Gandhi's biggest contribution to this movement?
Of course, I have to say that the Salt March was definitely the pivotal point in the independence movement, since it showed our resilience on the issue of losing a cornerstone of our diet, and we came out on top.
The Salt March took place from March to April 1930. During the march, thousands of Indians were led by and protested with Gandhi.
Gandhi had reasoned that if the Indians were to defy the Salt Act, they would be ingeniously defying a British law without violence. The Salt Act was definitely a lasting effect on the Indians. Collecting and selling salt, which was key in an average Indian's diet, became prohibited. This not only was effective to the poor, but rather the whole Indian population.
On March 12, 1930, Gandhi set out from his religious retreat from Sabarmati with several dozens of his followers and traveled 240 miles to the coastal town of Dundee.
Gandhi, as he marched with his followers, would attract and gather others to protest with him. His crowd had increased from dozens to tens of thousands. They were able to actually defy the Salt Act by making salt from seawater.
Through this rose civil disobedience that came across 2 millions. This disobedience is known as Satara, which is translated to the word truth. The march resulted in nearly 60,000 people arrested, including Gandhi, but it would not be too long till Gandhi was released from prison. After Gandhi's release, he met with the Viceroy of India, Lord Irwin, and agreed for exchange to end this disobedience. Irwin granted Gandhi a negotiating role at a London conference. With this role, Gandhi would be able to negotiate on India's future.
I wish I could have been one of the followers of the Great Souled One. Even though he was an immigrant to South Africa, he was known for his aesthetic lifestyle. He even wanted to restore the peace from the Hindus and the Muslims like the Great Mughal Empire from before. He protested for the oppressed lower Indian classes during hunger strikes. He carried out fasts for peace and prosperity of the people.
September 1939. During the time of World War II, India declared war on Germany. The Indian Army became equipped with around 200,000 men and would soon reach around 2.5 million men, making it the largest volunteer force in history. This force fought at home in India as well as among other places such as Egypt and Iraq. India became an effective force in the war.
To sum it up, Britain would not have achieved the success they had without India's help. Even 17 Indian soldiers were awarded with the highest British military honor, which was the Victoria's Cross.
We could not have come through both wars if we hadn't had the help and the support of the Indian Army.
However, there were still those who opposed aiding the war effort, including Mahatma Gandhi. They would not support the war effort until they were granted their independence.
Not only were some Indians refusing to support the British forces, but some were even supporting the Axis powers such as Japan, Nazi Germany, and Fascist Italy. One of the more radical leaders who sided with the Axis powers was Subhas Chandra Bose.
Subhas Chandra Bose was a member of the Indian National Congress, but after Britain forced India to another war, he went to Germany and they agreed that after the war, if Germany won, they would free India as long as India fought for the Axis power. Bose was able to form an army of around 43,000 men who served under Germany and Italy. However, it wouldn't be long until Germany surrendered and the war would be completed. India would be able to gain its long-awaited freedom. 87,000 Indian servicemen killed. However, it was a sacrifice in order to free India. India was granted its independence in July of 1947. Britain's parliament ordered that the dominions of India and Pakistan were to be separated from Britain.
For me, it is great to see how the world's largest empire split it into its own colony within a month of the act being passed. Roughly 15 million people fled to this land in hope of shelter.
Prime Minister of the soon-to-be independent India gave this speech on August 15, 1947, on the day in which the independence was granted.
I think that from this point on, India was at peace and free from struggle. Hope was filled in the air. However, India would soon realize that the partition that would take place would become a tragic political event. The migration of the people was suffering and miserable, which ultimately led to hundreds of thousands dead.
The only reason why Pakistan and India are fighting is because of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was the leading voice of the Muslim minority and was very angry with Gandhi's methods for freedom.
The British government had held a firm position on keeping the Indian subcontinent united, but Jinnah's dead-set mentality on a separate Muslim state overpowered the British government. Muhammad maintained his leadership role by being the Governor-General, but was revered as the father of the nation.
India and Pakistan first went to war in October of 1947. The war started after armed tribesmen from Pakistan visited Kashmir, geographically the northernmost region in the subcontinent of India. Both India and Pakistan attempted to pressure the Kashmir government in order to sway them.
Pakistan felt that because Kashmir's population was significantly made up of Muslims, that they would accept joining Pakistan. However, the majority of the population had disagreed in joining Pakistan. They would only accept joining India or even their own independence. Pakistan did not like this response. Soon, hostages began being held, and early in that October of 1947, a war had begun.
On January 1st, 1949, the United Nations agreed on a ceasefire. A referendum was to be held. However, that referendum still remains unheld. Pakistan now controls roughly 30% of Kashmir. The turmoil between India and Pakistan continues even today.
As the years have gone by, the crisis between India and Pakistan continues to grow.
Even though my country has gone through turmoil and harsh environments, we have also been able to develop through many fields, such as science and technology. India was able to show how strong they were as an empire and proved that by becoming an independent nation, even though we are in conflicts today, India has been able to achieve great heights, becoming a world power today.
Go.